First is introduction. Risk assessment is a process used to identify, analyze, and evaluate potential risks that may affect an organization's operation, assets, employees, and financial performance. In the manufacturing industry, companies are exposed to various risks such as fire, machinery breakdown, workplace accidents, environmental hazards, and supply chain disruptions. Therefore, effective risk management is essential to minimize losses and ensure business continuity. The purpose of this study is to apply risk assessment and risk management concept in a real manufacturing environment. Through this case study, we aim to identify the key risks faced by Continental Tire PJ Malaysia, evaluate their potential impact on the company, and propose suitable risk management strategies to reduce these risks and improve operational efficiency. Continental Tire PJ Malaysia Sedan Berhad is a subsidiary of Continental in Germany, one of the world's leading tire manufacturers. The company is involved in the manufacturing and distribution of tires for both domestic and international markets. As a large manufacturing organization, it faces various operational and business risks, making risk assessment an important tool for maintaining productivity and long-term sustainability. Next, main issue and problems. The first issue is the lack of historical data. As a newly established company operating on a pre-loss basis, there is limited operational and loss information available for risk analysis. This makes it difficult to identify risk patterns and accurately estimate potential losses. The second issue is the absence of an established risk management framework. Since the company is still developing its risk management practices, some risks may not be properly identified, monitored, or controlled. This could increase the company's exposure to operational and compliance risks. The third issue is a limited risk awareness and experience among employees. New employees may not be fully familiar with the risk management procedures, emergency response actions, or reporting processes. As a result, the likelihood of human errors and overlooked risks may increase. Therefore, addressing this issue is essential to strengthen the company risk management practices and improve overall operational resilience.
Continental Tire Malaysia conducts risk assessment to identify and evaluate risks that may affect its operations, asset, employees, and financial performance. The major risks includes fire, machinery breakdown, equipment failure, flooding, and workplace accidents. The company's risk management framework aims to protect its assets and employees, minimize financial losses, ensure business continuity, and also support effective decision making. To achieve this, Continental follows a 5-step risk management process, which is risk identification, risk assessment, risk evaluation, risk control, and continuous risk monitoring.
Risk identification is the most important step in risk management process. It is because in this step, we will identify the threats, vulnerabilities, and risks associated in a company. If we fail to do a proper risk identification process, it will give a negative impact on other risk management process. For this process to be more effective and solid, we need to identify risk based on its probability and impact of the risk. So, to identify the risk, there are several tools that we can use, which are, first is physical inspection. Physical inspection is a common tool for risk surveyor to do when to identify the risk at any property. Basically, inspector will come and walk around to do an observation on the property for assess and virtually detect the risk. Before they do that, first they need to prepare a standard checklist that tailor with the property like factory. Then they need to review whether the company have any past accident report. By doing that, it assists surveyor to identify the risk at specific area that have previously accident. Next, during their walk around in the certain property, they need inspect all the process involved in operation from the beginning until the end of the process. After all the inspection, they need to do a reporting and also they need to suggest action for every risk they found. It's important especially for underwriters as they are reference for underwriting process. Second, we have a flowchart tools. Flowchart is a visual risk identification tools where each stage of production being mapped out from the beginning until the end of the production. By doing a flowchart and list down all the process, it helps surveyor to detect every single clear or hidden possible risk that might be happen within the factory. These tools allow surveyor to see the domino effects, where if there is a risk occurring at the beginning of the production, it will give an impact on the whole of the process of the productions. Lastly is a risk register technique. Risk register is an important document used in risk management to record, track and monitor of all the identified risks. This document consists of root causes, potential response, and updated risk categories. Uh, it is very important because it acts as a central risk information in a company where it acts as a reference for risk manager to plan a suitable action and control for that risk, and also used by underwriter to assist them for underwriting process. Based on our investigation, we found out there are three major risks and we arranged it according to the which risks that we are prioritized, which are fire and explosion risk, faulty wiring risk, and also machinery breakdown risk. Okay, first for the fire and explosion risk, this risk we classify it as high risk though the impact is catastrophic that causing a total property damage, severe injuries, and extensive operational shutdown, even though it is unlikely to happen. Root cause of this due to flammable material like synthetic rubber, chemical solvent stored too close to high heat production machinery. Second is faulty wiring risk. For this risk, we also classify as a high risk because it carry a major impact and it's more likely to happen than a fire, leading to a high repair cost and business interruption. For the root cause for this risk, due to overload circuit, heavy machinery vibration, loosening the electrical terminals, and corrosive chemical fumes and heat that melting the cable insulation. Third is machinery breakdown risk. We also classify this risk as a high risk because while it is the most likely to occur, it is the lowest priority because its impact is only moderate, which impact on the revenue loss and repair costs compared to safety disaster. Root cause is due to the overheating component and the lack of routine preventive maintenance. So, the suitable action based on the level of the risk are, okay, for the first risk, which fire and explosion risk, we suggest engineer control, which install automatic water sprinklers, smoke detectors, and fire extinguisher directly near high-head machinery. Second is emergency readiness. Clearly mark an emergency exit and conduct regular fire drill training for all factory workers. And lastly is a risk transfer, which transfer the risk by purchasing a fire insurance policy. Second is faulty wiring risk. We suggest to do an annual inspection. It's a conduct a mandatory yearly maintenance audit on all electrical cabling to check for melt insulation or the loose terminals. Next is material upgrade. Encase wiring in high temperature, chemical resistant protective cover to prevent exposure to extreme heat and corrosive fumes. And lastly, for the machinery breakdown risk, we suggest to do a routine maintenance by implement strict schedules for regular check-up and preventive maintenance to catch component overheating and wear early. And lastly is a risk transfer by transferring the risk of loss by purchasing industrial all risk policy.
When examining our alternative, we evaluated 5 key strategies. First, a standard fire insurance policy to transfer the financial report of physical damage. Second, an industrial all-risk policy to cover broader unexpected property damages and the severe operational fallout like loss of revenue and downtime. Third, the internal control of strictly enforcing safety standard operating procedures (SOPs) to tackle human error. Fourth, physical preservative machinery checkups to intercept equipment failure before a breakdown occurs. And finally, physical separation of warehouse using concrete firewalls to limit the spread of fire. Moving on to implementation, we choose to execute 3 core strategies. First, fire insurance. We will engage professional risk surveyor to ensure our submission perfectly matches the market value of our factories and equipment. This guarantees a steady cash flow, up and reconstruction before fire occurs. Second, we will implement the industrial oil risk policy. Because the production relies heavily on constant logistics and massive machinery, the ARM policy is crucial. It will step in during a forced shutdown to replace our lost net operating income and cover fixed standing charges like electricity and worker salaries. Lastly, we are enforcing strict safety SOP on the factory floor. This involves strict storage limits for flammable synthetic rubber, mandatory work permit for welding, and isolating solvent from high heat areas. To put this to practice, operational management will conduct and announce safety audits and issue warnings for violations, successfully eliminating operational negligence. So, by successfully combining this financial risk transfer with strict internal controls, Continental Tire Malaysia can protect its assets, secure its workers, and maintain long-term business continuity.
Hi, my name is Shakina Atira University Suhaimi, and I will explain about the risk monitoring part. There are three main points that we monitor. That is, first is fire insurance. At the beginning of the year, Continental Tire Malaysia expected that by paying its fire insurance premium on time, any fire losses would be covered by the insurer. However, at the end of the year, the company experienced a fire incident, but the insurer only paid part of the claim because the company failed to comply with the policy requirements, such as not installing a fire alarm and automatic water sprinkler. As a result, the company had to bear the remaining repair costs. This shows that severity of financial losses increased while the frequency of fire incidents remained unchanged. The second point is Industry All Risk IAR Insurance. At the beginning of the year, Continental Tire Malaysia maintained its Industry All Risk IAR Insurance to protect its machinery, factory asset, and equipment from damage. The company expected this insurance to reduce repair costs. However, at the end of the year, several machinery damage incidents occurred, and the insurer rejected the claims because the machinery was not inspected and maintained regularly. Therefore, the company had to pay all repair costs on its own. This increased both of severity and frequency of machinery damage due to poor maintenance practices. The third point is strict enforcement of safety standard operating procedures. At the beginning of the year, Continental Tire Malaysia expected that strict enforcement of safety standard operating procedures would reduce workplace accidents. The company planned to achieve this by conducting regular safety training and taking disciplinary action against employees who violated safety rules. However, at the end of the year, some workers failed to follow the required safety procedures during inspections. This non-compliance led to more workplace accidents and fire hazard. As a result, both the severity and frequency of the workplace accidents increased because employees did not comply with the company safety SOPs. So, for the recommendation, I will explain one by one. Our first recommendation is to install fire alarms and automatic water sprinkler system throughout the factory. This system can detect and control fire quickly, reducing damage to the factory and machinery. They also help the company to comply with the insurance safety requirements, which increases the chances of receiving a full insurance claims in the future. Our second recommendation is to carry out regular preventive maintenance on all machinery and equipment. Regular inspection and servicing can reduce equipment breakdowns and improve operational efficiency. The company should also keep proper maintenance record as evidence for the insurer when making future insurance claims. So our final recommendation is to strengthen the enforcement of safety standard operating procedures or SOPs. The company should provide regular safety training, appoint safety officers to monitor employees, and introduce a reward and penalty system. This will encourage employees to follow safety procedures, reduce workplace accidents, and improve overall workplace safety. So, in conclusion, risk assessment is essential in helping the company identity, evaluate, and manage the various risks associated with its tire manufacturing operations. The company faces several major risks, including fire, explosion, faulty wiring, and machinery breakdown, which can lead to property damage, production disruption, and also financial losses. By implementing a structured risk management framework together with appropriate insurance coverage, preventive maintenance, employee safety training, and strict compliance with standard operating procedures, so Continental can minimize these risks and strengthen its business continuity. Overall, effective risk management not only protects the company's assets and employees, but also supports its long-term operational efficiency and sustainable business growth.